All right, week 13, here we go. Missed the last couple weeks due to holiday stuff and a bunch of crying when the Aggies lost. I started looking at this actually, and I almost wasn't even gonna make a power ranking. This isn't even really a power ranking at this point. This is probably gonna be a quicker episode. I started looking at this, thinking what is there even really to talk about? I kind of want to do it just because I feel like I'm lacking on commissioner duty or something. I don't know. And I was hoping it'd be a little more interesting, but it's really kind of boring, to be honest, going into the last week. I mean, like, selfishly it's not, because I'm in one of the limited meaningful matchups, I guess. But there are a couple things we can point at here. I'm not even really going to go through the teams. I've already missed a couple weeks. We all know who the players are. It's the end of the year. So I really just want to talk about, like, playoff scenarios. I'll probably do some, like, nerdier shit analysis on players, and I want to look at, like, who the best drafters were and all that. I'm sure it'll just be Andrew up at the top of the list. That was one thought I had, though. I actually had this thought like 2 weeks ago, and then I just thought about it again this week. I remember in one of the last power ranking videos I made, I had specifically mentioned how everybody that Andrew, like, took a gamble on this year, like, panned out, like, in the way that we all, like, dreamed that it would, for our teams. And that was before Jerry Jeudy decided that he is now the best wide receiver in the NFL. Like, I don't know if him being on anybody else's team this would have happened, except for Andrew's team this year, right? And isn't it also weird? Now I'm just going to bitch about it for a moment. Andrew got into the playoffs with one of the worst performances ever. What was that, last year or 2 years ago? His team was dog shit every week, and he still wound up in the playoffs. He was like the luckiest team we've had, at least since we got on Sleeper. I think that was Scotty's blog post that he had put together. And now he's getting lucky in the opposite way. Or I don't know, lucky, just very fortunate, right? To have this, like, habitually underperforming guy get traded to one of the worst teams with one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And he's now wide receiver 11 putting up 40-point games. Like, this is, like, yeah, I don't know. That's... Apparently, like, God in anime has been replaced with, like, gambling and a fetish for brunette nurses. I don't know. I think that's maybe the move, is that we should all just try to date nurses going forward. Anyway, yeah, that was a crazy. But, at the same time, Jerry Jeudy with that rundown at the end of the game literally saved my season. One more pick six, Caleb would have beat me. Or yeah, Caleb would have beat me last week, and that would have knocked my record down low enough where my playoff hopes would have probably been dead. So anyway, let's look at some playoff scenarios here. There's really only a couple games that are even worth looking at, but they are interesting. So I did do, I guess, technically a power ranking, so we'll knock out the easy ones here first. Andrew's number one. He's already got the first round bye locked in. Travis and Carl are locked into their spots. They statistically cannot not be in the playoffs. So, yeah, I guess technically Travis could move around. Carl is basically locked into the third spot, more or less. I mean, Travis, I guess, could win this week. Who is Travis playing? He's playing Andrew. I guess if Carl loses and Travis wins, he could get the third spot. Anyway, one of them is getting the third spot. One of them is probably going to get the fourth spot. Now, the number 2 spot is probably going to be Scotty, almost definitely. He has a 40-point lead on Caleb, who would be in second place. So really, it would take one of those crazy, like, 160-point weeks if Scotty just played, like, at his average. But if Scotty did have, like, a really horrible week, I mean, Scotty did just have the worst score in the league this last week, only 73. So it is possible, I guess, but it would have to be pretty drastic. And then even if he did that, though, even if Scotty had a terrible week, One, he would have to get passed up by 2 people to miss out on not only the number 2 seed in points for, but also the number 6 seed, right? And also, Travis is close enough behind Caleb, right? Only a few points that Travis really should. I mean, he's locked in the playoffs, but things could roll. Like it is definitely possible that things roll in a way for Travis to steal the number 2 seed and get the bye. So I'm sure he's going to do his best there. But for now, I'm going to say, unless something wild happens, Scotty is pretty safely in the playoffs. Carl obviously has the locked-in spot, but I'm basing these power rankings based off of like my expectation that your team could win a championship. And Scotty's team just has the better roster than Carl's, based on like all the metrics. So assuming he makes the playoffs, like I would bet on Scotty's team, and especially because if he does make the playoffs, it's going to be for that number 2 seed. Yeah, like it has to be, right? So if he makes it in and if he gets the 2 seed, he now has a bye week. Like, yeah, Travis is close enough to his team performance-wise that I kind of give him the bump, but Scotty does get the in over Carl in my opinion, just because I think it's pretty safe that he's going to get the 2 seed, and then from that point, you have the bye, you have a very good team, obviously. Hopefully this last week was just like a one-off for Scotty's team being shitty. So these are kind of like the top 4. So those are easy enough to work through. The next 2 easy ones, or 3 easy ones, are Mark and Trond, who are, statistically cannot get in based on win, or mathematically can't get in based on wins, and probably statistically can't get in based on points. Like, of course, it's always theoretically possible. But again, you would have to jump. Trond would have to have like multiple weeks worth of points, and Mark would have to jump a number of people, right? Where like everybody would have to. It's just not going to happen. So bad news for you guys is you're out of it for good, of course. Good news is you cannot get last place. Like you cannot be in the bottom 2 spots. So that's easy. Or that it just is what it is. Low stress week for you guys. Chris, gear up for your I guess week 16 matchup. I don't know. Go and find a good defense, I guess, with a matchup in week 16. Because this week doesn't matter, next week doesn't matter. You're locked into the last spot. So that covers, 7 out of our 12 spots are essentially, I'll call them more or less locked up, pending Scotty's team, doing what they need, handling their business this week. So yeah, that's these guys. Yeah, seven teams. Now, that means there's really 2 interesting scenarios and 2 interesting games here. The first one we'll talk about is, of course, me and K-Man have a interesting play-in that we're gonna play for. But there's also I'll call it like a play-out. So, Logan and John both have 5 wins this week. And they are playing each other. And so one of them is going to lose, right? Technically, like Caleb could lose, and let's say things don't break his way and he gets left out for whatever reason. He's still going to have more than enough points that it would be, I guess is it possible that like, no, would that even be possible? If both these teams score highly, but then John wins, so he'd have 6 wins. That would be Logan and Caleb, assuming Caleb loses. Where it would be Logan and Caleb would have 5 wins. Yeah, I guess technically Caleb could end up in the playoffs or with the Sacco bye, based on these numbers that I'm looking at here, right? Because let's say John wins, and Logan scores, like 140 and John scores 141, and then Caleb only scores like 80. That's going to be enough for Logan to outscore, to catch up to Caleb's number. He's only 20 behind, 25. And then, assuming Caleb loses, that is technically enough to get Caleb into the last place game. These are all like hypotheticals. I think more than likely one of these teams is going to lose and put themselves, with only the 5 wins. Either John or Logan are going to be in the Sacco bye with Chris. I put that as Logan for now because, as he's already pointed out, his team is not looking good with the bye weeks. He's got his 2 top running backs on bye, so he's going to have to, I guess he's just hanging around, not making a move on waivers too. He's got 1 running back on his bench who's questionable right now, and he doesn't have another one. So apparently Logan doesn't care that much if he if he gets the bye. But yeah, I mean, y'all are playing to not play for a Sacco. So yeah, good luck with that. But yeah, technically this is what I'll call it a play out game. Another interesting thing I noticed here too was Logan has a disturbingly high number of points. Like, obviously he's gotten a little bit unlucky in terms of his wins to points ratio. But if you look at our cumulative wins, I only have 5 more points than him on the season, but I have like almost 20 more cumulative wins. So Logan, I haven't even gone and looked at this yet. Logan's team must have been just like the absolute roller coaster of a team this year. I mean, yeah, 0-11, 9-2, 2-9, 11-0, 4-7, 11-0, 8-1. Yeah, like very up. So whenever his team did well, he absolutely popped off. Oh, these aren't even updated. I'm a fucking idiot. Or maybe I sorted. I mean, that's still not great, but. Dun, 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 dun. And maybe I just missed Logan's. But that's still, 10 wins over the course of a season. That's an extra win every week. Yeah, just interesting. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just filling out here. So the interesting scenario, though, is obviously me and K-Man playing each other. I couldn't find a way to rank us with Caleb mixed in as well. But this is like obviously the matchup to watch this week. One of us is going to get a win, and we're going to get into that 5 seed probably. And then the loser, so the winner is in for sure, and then the loser is still technically in. You just need to outscore Caleb. So I could lose, but I would need to outscore Caleb by 20 points or whatever, and I could still get in. That's going to be a harder route for K-Man. So yeah, Caleb, you should definitely root for my team, because K-Man has a bigger gap to overcome. Like, your team can do worse and still outscore his, right? Yeah, so you should definitely root for my team. And then Caleb could get the 6th seed, or it is technically possible that both, if K-Man and I both just have like a shootout, score really highly, one of us has to win, of course. But if we both end up outscoring Caleb by, 50 points or something for K-Man, or 20 points for me, then we could both technically end up in the playoffs. So I feel like this is just way too close to call. Neither of us really have any significant, I say that after I just spent like $20 on quarterbacks. This is kind of a bye week hell for a few teams. Yeah, I guess K-Man is losing out on Cortland Sutton and Brian Robinson and Bo Nix, of course. But he has, most of the strength of his team. Buka's playing, Devontae's playing. So yeah, he might be a little bit down, but I mean, at this point of the year, you're just hoping for anything. So yeah, it should be a good final week of the regular season. Um, and we should be able to get ready for fantasy playoffs. So, yeah, this is kind of, I don't know if I would call this a power ranking. This is just kind of like my gut feel, I guess, on who is most likely to win a championship at this point. I think we all know who the best teams are. Um, but yeah, we're gonna have to see how it kind of shakes out here before playoffs start. So anyway, that's it. Hope you all had a good holiday, boys, and we're gonna see how things go later.